Okay, so like I told you guys in our session, this next assignment is to create a magazine ad using a product that you find around your house. Could be a box of cereal, could be a toothpaste tube, could be a candy bar, still inside the wrapper. It could be anything you find around your house. Um, so what I've done is I'm going to go and create one and show you how to do it. I don't want you to create the exact same thing. I want you to use a different product, but I'm going to show you how you might approach it and the elements that you need to include in your design. So before I started to design anything in Gravit, I gathered all my elements first. And so this was a picture that I took. This happened to be sitting on my kitchen table. So I went, took a picture of it. Obviously, we were using a lot of these lately, so it happened to be out. So I went and took a picture of this, and then I uploaded it to my computer, or rather downloaded it to my computer. And this is the photograph that I'm going to use for my ad. And then I wanted to have a different background. We're going to end up replacing the background of our product. Whatever photograph you take, you're going to want to get rid of that background and place in favor of a new background. It could be anything you want. It could be a design, could be a different placement, could be outdoors, whatever it is, whatever background you think is appropriate for your product. That's what you're gonna use. So I've got my photograph, and then I went and took a look at some backgrounds. I knew I wanted to have some kind of blue starburst or something like that to go behind the package, and so I took a look at this one. This is nice, but I can't use it because it's got these watermarks in it. And then I thought maybe just kind of some blue swirls might be good, and I could use this one. But then I went ahead and found this one, and I think this one is going to be best for what I wanted to use, for what I want to do with it. So I'm going to use this photograph. Now, I also need to include the product logo somewhere on the ad. So I went and I found this, and so I'm going to use this in my design as well. So I've got my three elements here. I've got the photograph that I took of my product. I've got the background that I'm going to use. And I would probably say when you're going to look for a background, or you're going to look for an image, remember, you want to look for large images, images that are high resolution, so images that are good quality. So when you go to Google search, make sure you click on images. Make sure you go to the right and click tools, and then click under size, click large. So I've got my three elements here. I've got my product shot, I've got my logo, and I've got my background. So now I'm going to go ahead and go to Gravit. Okay, I know that the size of my document is going to be 8 by 11 or letter size. We're going to go with portrait. Okay, so now I've got my work area. First thing I want to do is I want to import the photo of my product. So I'll go up here to place image, select the photograph, choose, and here it is. Now, normally, when you import a photograph into Gravit, it tries to maximize the size of the image to fill up the space as much as it can. So this actually is not a bad size. I don't think I'm going to go with this for now. I may make it a little bit smaller later on to fit some of the other elements, but I'm going to go ahead with this. Now, the next thing you want to do is we want to basically get rid of the background. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to trace around the product, and then we're going to hit a button called clip, which I'll show you later. So I'm going to take my pen tool, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so starting in the bottom right hand corner, and I'm going to start right about here, and I'll come about here and here, and just keep going like this. You've got these little ruffles at the bottom of the packaging. So this is going to take me a little while to do, and I want to make sure that I'm accurate. So rather than have you guys just watch me do this for a few minutes or so, I've already got this done. So I'm going to go ahead and open a file that I've already saved. Okay, right here. Okay, so I've got, okay, as you can see, if I move this over, I've already got the outline of my package right here. I went around, I did all these small ruffles at the bottom, came up, went over, there's ruffles again at the top. So I've already done this, okay? So now, what I want to do is, I'm going to use the clip button to cut out the background. The first thing I need to do is to take this background and I need to move it to the front. So I'm going to select it and I go Modify, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay, so now the outline we can't see anymore because it's in the back. It's in the background. Okay, so now I'm going to click and drag over the photograph and the outline so that I have them selected at the same time. And then I come up here to this button here where it says clip and just click it. Okay, so now I've cropped out the photo. There's no more background here because I used the path tool to create the pen tool to create the outline. Okay, now what I do need to do is, if you can see, there still is this black outline here. I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to click right here and then go down to, there we go. I have to click the actual line. Go down to border, click, and then up where it says color fill, I'm going to hit transparent. So now I've got a cutout of the product without the black outline that I created. And now I think what I want to do is, I think the product is just a little bit too big. I want to make it a little bit smaller. And I also want to rotate it a little bit. So I'm going to click here and open this window a little bit. I'm going to click here and grab this tool right here. This is the rotate tool. I'm going to click it and drag over a little bit and kind of put it on more of an angle. So I want to utilize some of this space. And I think I might make it a little bit smaller. No, you know what? Maybe a touch smaller. Now I'm holding down the Shift key to resize to make sure it resizes proportionally. Okay. Maybe move this up a little bit. Okay, right about there. That's good. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to bring in my background. So again, I'll go to Place Image, select the background, the JPEG that I want to use, hit Choose, and then it tries to fill it in from side to side. But the issue here is that my graphic is square, but I needed to fill the 8.5 by 11 letter size document that I'm using. So I'm going to enlarge this a little bit. I'm going to click on a corner point. Again, hold the Shift key down when you're resizing objects. Right there. I think I'll go a little bit larger. Maybe right there. And then down here, same thing, right about there. Okay, good. Now I can, if I want, I can crop it. If you know, the picture, this is the size of the picture. We're only seeing what's fitting in the letter size. You can leave it like that if you want. If you want to crop it, just click the crop button and you can move these crop tools. The crop tool looks like it does in Photoshop, where you can go in now and crop the image. If you want to, it's not necessary. And then uncrop. Okay. So now I've got my graphic here, but now it's in front of my product photo. So I'm going to select it, go to Modify, Arrange, Send to Back. Okay, good. I've got my product. I've got my background that I want. Now I want to go in and put my logo in. So let's go again to Place Image, Wet Ones, Choose. Okay, now again, this is way bigger than I need it to be, but again, Gravit tries to fill in that space. So I'm going to click a corner point, hold the Shift key down, and drag it down to say about there. And I know I want to put my logo. I've got this space right here that's kind of empty, so I think I'm going to move the logo right about here. I think that's probably a good size. Maybe I'll go a little bit larger. Okay, and then maybe move it down just a little bit. Okay, here's the problem. When I downloaded the logo, I downloaded the one that had a white background on it. Now, if I had Photoshop, if I could use Photoshop, I could take it into Photoshop, I could delete the background, save it as a PNG file, and then I'd be in good shape. The background would show through. But because I don't have Photoshop, we don't have Photoshop to use, I need to figure out a way to work with this logo with the white background. It doesn't look great with that white box behind it. So I got to figure out a way to make it look like it's part of the design. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my rectangle tool, and I'm going to create a rectangle. Okay, and I don't want to fill it, but I do want a, where'd it go? I do want a border. So I'm going to go and put in a white border. Okay, and then I don't want it to have a fill. So I'll go and remove the fill, go to transparent. So now I have this white rectangle. Now I'm thinking that I want to have, I want the white rectangle to be about 1/2 inch from each edge of the document. Top, left, right, bottom. Now I could measure it out, but I can also do this numerically. We know that the document is 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to make the outline come in 1/2 inch on each side, which means I'm going to take 1 inch off of the size of this rectangle. So over here under size, I can see that right now it's 6.9361. I'll take this and I'll do 7.5 because the size of the document is 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to bring it in about 1 inch. So that's 7.5. And then this one, instead of being 11 inches, I'm going to make it 10 inches. And so that gives me an exact rectangle that is 1/2 inch smaller all the way around than the document. Now I'll use my alignment tools to center it where I want it. And I think I want the rectangle to be a little bit thicker. I think I want the line to be a little bit thicker. Right now it's 1 point. So I'm going to go and do 5 points. I think maybe I'm going to do 7 points. Okay, 7 points. All right, that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to move this. It's starting to cover up some of the logo, so I'm going to move this to the back. Modify, range, send it back. But now I also need to move the background. Modify, range, send it back. So now I've got the rectangle where I want it. So now with this white border going around, it looks like I intended to have the logo in a white box and then another white box outlined around it as a design element. Okay, so we're getting there. We're almost done. The next thing I want to do is add my slogan. Remember, your ad needs to contain a slogan. So a slogan that you create. So I'm going to take my text tool and then I'm going to create a text block that says, swipe away the virus. So I'm going to select it. Now I want to change a couple things. I know I want the text to be aligned on the right side, and I definitely want it to be bigger. So let's go and try 36 points. No, I want it to be bigger. Let's go and try 60 points. Yeah, 60 will do. All right, so now I want the text to be white. So I'll go to color fill and select white. And I know that I want it to be, let's see, I also want it to be bold. And I want to close up some of the leading, some of the space between the lines of type. So I'll go over here. Now that's leading. The term we use for the space between the lines of type is called leading. They just call it spacing here. So right now it's set to 100. I'm going to make this, let's try 80. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to just move this text block a little bit. Nope, moving the wrong thing. Okay, I'm going to use the arrows. I want to move this over a little bit and move it down. Okay. Now, last thing I want to do is I want to highlight part of this word here. So I'm going to zoom in to the text block. Yep. Okay. Why is it not? moving. All right, let's do this. Let's go right there. Okay, good. So now, I want to click inside the text block, double click. I only want to select, well actually before I do that, I do want to put a white border around the text. So down by border, I'm going to hit the plus sign, click here, and again I want the border to be white. And I think I want the border to be 1 point. Let's try, I'll leave it 1 point for now. So now I want to go in and I want to select wipe. And I want to change the color of this text. So I'm going to take the eyedropper and I want to use a color that I already have in my design. In fact, I want to use a color that I have in the blue background. So I'll go right about here and try this. Click right there. Okay. So now I've got the word wipe in blue text and all the rest of the text is white. So I'm kind of playing on the word here where even though the word says swipe, I'm just highlighting the W-I-P-E for wipe because the product that we are marketing are called hand wipes. So it's kind of a play on words. Okay, so now I will deselect, take a look at my design. Looks pretty good. So this is what I'm going to go with. This is my design. So now I'm going to save it. And I'm going to call it wet one ad, wet one's ad, final. I'll save it. Then I'll go to File, Export as a PDF at 150 dpi. It's taking a moment to save. Probably because of all the photographs that I've imported in here. Okay, good. So I don't need Gravit anymore. I will go ahead and quit. And then I will take a look at the PDF. Okay, and so now I've got my full mode. Okay, so let's take one last look at it. Now I've got my ad. I have my product, which has been cropped out of the background. I have a new background that I put in. I have my logo. And then I have my slogan for the ad. Okay, done. Now, like I said, you're not to do this very same ad. I want you to find a product around the house and take a photograph of it and go through the steps that I did. You don't have to put a border around it unless you think it adds to the design. Remember, you want to go for maximum visual impact. So if you think a border is going to help, if you think some other shapes or colored shapes are going to help, if you think that any other graphic design element, maybe some lines or maybe an arrow or something like that, whatever you think might help the visual impact of this ad, go ahead and try. Right? This is the design I went with when I took a picture of the wet ones. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with anything yet. I know that I had the picture of the product, but then as I started to think about this, the overall look kind of came to me, and I was able to put it all together with images that I was able to find. If you're using a fairly known product, then you should be able to find a high resolution logo online somewhere. Okay, so this is the finished ad. Now that I'm done, I will submit it to Edmodo.